converse is? What do you think the converse is? If, what? All right, I'll tell you. If a squared plus b squared equals c squared, then I'll just say triangle ABC is a right triangle. If a squared plus b squared equals c squared, then triangle ABC is a right triangle.
I get it, because like, if they are all 90 degrees, then you have 3 right angles.
So what you have to remember is that in this equation, C is always the what?
The longest.
Uh-huh.
Oh my God.
C is always the longest side. Please, please, please write that down. If you do not remember that, you have to commit that to memory. The C in the equation is the longest side. And the reason you have to commit it to memory is because you're going to be doing problems like this. You're going to be given the sides of a triangle, and you have to tell me whether they're right triangles or not. And the way you do that is by using the converse of the Pythagorean theorem. If the left side equals the right side, then yes, it's a right triangle. So let's practice this a little bit. So let's look at this set of numbers. They're saying these are the sides of a triangle. If I were to plug it into the Pythagorean theorem, which one has to be C?
10.
This has to be C.
That's the longest.
Yes. The other two, it doesn't matter. It could be A or B. I'll just make that A and that B. And then what I want to do is I want to plug it into a squared plus b squared equals c squared to see if this side is equal to this side. If it is, then it is a right triangle. So 6 squared plus 8 squared equals 10 squared. That is the question. Is that true? So we do 36 plus 64. Is that equal to 100?
Yep.
100 equals 100, so I can say yes, it is a right triangle. Because it makes the Pythagorean theorem true. Okay? So let's try another one. So, which one do I have to make C?
14.
14. Let's just make this B and this C and this A for the heck of it. A and B, doesn't matter. C has to be the longest. So I'm going to plug it into the Pythagorean theorem. A squared would be 12 squared. B squared would be 5 squared. Is that equal to 14 squared? Let's find out. So 144 plus 25, is that equal to 196? And then these two add together to 169. Is that a true statement? No, they are not true. So we say nope, not a right triangle. Not a right triangle. Okay, so let's just see something that might look slightly different, but you know how to deal with this. All right, again, you're given this, and just take a second to think about it. You have to decide what the longest side is. Do you kind of know what the square root of 26 is? Bet you do if you think about it.
26.
No, don't, just stay with me. Just think about this thought process. Do you know what the square root of 25 is?
Yeah.
Do you know what the square root of 36 is?
No.
6. So wouldn't the square root of 26 be between 5 and 6 somewhere? Yes. So that makes this the biggest side. If you don't know, whip it on your calculator and get the decimal. Figure out which one's the longest. This is about 5.1. But I'm just going to say, okay, I know this is C. I'll make this A and this B, and I'm going to plug it into the Pythagorean theorem. Now look what happens when we do that. Ladies and gentlemen, please write it like this. Maybe you know where this is going. What undoes square root? Squaring. The opposite of square root is squaring. So they cancel each other out, and I'm left with what number? 26. I'm left with 26. Square root, squaring cancel each other out, so this is actually what I end up having. Is that a true statement? Yes, so this is a right triangle. It's a right triangle, okay? All right, so inequalities, it means we're not going to have equals anymore. If we have a less than or a greater than, it tells us that it's a different kind of triangle. We have a right triangle if it's equal. Right triangle if it's equal. If we have c squared ending up being less than a squared plus b squared, the triangle is acute. What does acute mean? All the angles are less than 90 degrees, okay? So if this occurs, this can also be written like this. A squared plus b squared is greater than c squared. These two are the same thing. However you want to look at it. They mean the same thing. It means this side is bigger than that. If it's equal, it's a right triangle. Yeah, and if it's this way, then triangle ABC is obtuse. This is saying it can also be written like this. A squared plus b squared is less than c squared. If that happens, this side is smaller than this, then it's an obtuse triangle. So turn the page and let's practice a little bit of that. No, we are actually stopping right here. This ends up being 4.7, and we're going to do that on Monday. Okay, so let's practice this, and we got to decide whether these triangles are acute, right, or obtuse. If they're acute, a squared plus b squared is going to be what? I have to look, I don't remember. Greater than c squared. If they're right, it's going to be equal. If it's obtuse, it's going to be less than. Okay, so let's plug in and try. Which one has to be C? 16. The other ones doesn't matter, but this is where it's going to be slightly different. I'll make this A and I'll make this B. 8 squared plus 15 squared. Leave this blank until we figure out what it is. And just put 16 squared here. We're going to figure out what's going to go here. So, 64 plus, remember, 225 is it? 225 and 256. I'm going to finish this until I figure out what goes in between before I figure that out. 289 and 256. So this side is what? This is bigger. So since a squared plus b squared is bigger than c squared, it's what? It's acute. Okay? Isn't that nifty? Nifty little trick. Okay, let's try this one. Again, this is C. I'm going to make this A and B. 7 squared plus 24 squared. Leave that space in between blank until you figure out what it is. 49 plus 576 and 625 over here. 625 and 625. Oh, they're equal. So what does that tell me?
Right.
It's a right triangle. Bet you can guess what the last one's going to be.
Right.
Let's try it. This is C. Let's just for the heck of it make that A and that B. Doesn't really matter. So I start with a squared, which is 12 squared, plus b squared, leave a space, 16 squared. 144 plus 25, 256, 169, 256. Okay, so this side is less than. So this is what I have. A squared plus b squared is less than c squared, which tells me it's a what? Obtuse. Okay? So, a couple things you need to remember. If it gives you 3 numbers, and you have to decide if it's a right triangle, what do? What do? You plug it into what? Pythagorean theorem, right? C is always the what? The biggest number. Okay?